Hey cats, what's happening? I'm, as you can see from the title of this video, I'm about to get started on my Fat Boy. The starter's been acting up on me. You hit the starter and you just hear this, and then eventually it'll click in and it'll start. That's a pretty good clue that the starter clutch in the starter is going bad. So, I'm going to get started on this today. And the very first thing I want to do before working on the starter is to disconnect the battery, and I've removed the whole thing. I took it over here to the workbench. It's going to need some cleaning up. These leads are kind of corroded there. So I'll clean that all up before putting it back on. I'll put it on the trickle charger, make sure it has a full charge, clean it up. First thing I have to do is to remove the primary cover off the bike. That side of the bike's going to be fairly easy, but I'm going to have to pull the part of the starter off from this side, and as you can see, it's right here, which doesn't lend me much room at all. I'm probably going to have to take this pipe off, and I might have to pull the oil tank off. That's the difficult part of it. So it's no better time than now to get started on it though. So I'm going to get her up on the lift where I can see it easily and get started. Now if I was going to have somebody do this work for me, it would probably cost me a pretty penny. Not to mention, you take your bike into these places to get it repaired and it just takes forever. I mean, they're backed up. They got bikes lined up there in the wait. So, yeah, you'd be calling them every week. Hey, is my bike done yet? Is my bike done yet? And, you know, it'll be months later when you're finally able to ride. I'm hoping this job won't be too difficult, but I've been putting it off, to tell you the truth, because I know it's going to end up, there's going to end up being some issues. First thing I got to do though is I got these little chrome buttons on the bolt heads. So I got to pop them off. I got a little screwdriver here and I just wedge it behind there. They kind of go inside the thing. They got like a little tab on it, but you put a little silicone on there to hold them in place so they don't fall off. I got a little plastic container. I'll put my pieces and parts in there so I don't lose them. Okay, the next thing I got to do is drain the oil out of the primary case. And there we go. That looks pretty black. It was about time for a change. That little plug is magnetic, and I can actually see some debris caught on there. Not a lot, but just a little bit. So there's some metal, just a little bit, nothing serious. I'm going to start loosening up these primary cover bolts using my hex head. And I want to do this in a star pattern, so I don't want to, go around like clockwise. I want to do boom, 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 and keep rotating them around. And I forgot to mention, I got to take that shifter lever off of there too. Well, as you can see, I'm already getting into it over my head. This is everything I dreamed it would be, a can of worms. So I've had to disconnect the footboard, get that out of the way, because one of the bolts for the primary is right there. Okay, then I had to take the shifters off. And there was a chrome plate that went over there that kind of overlapped this primary cover. I had to take the cover off of here, And now I'm going to take all the screws out for the primary cover and pull the whole cover off. The other thing I'm doing is I'm putting all my bolts into these little Ziploc bags and labeling them so I kind of know where they're going to go when it comes time to put it all back together, because it might be a while. Well, there you go. The whole primary cover's off. That was more work than I thought it would be, but nonetheless, it's done. It's off. So the gears look okay there. So that's not a problem. But this is the next thing I got to take off. So there's a little tab right here I got to bend over. And then I can take that bolt off. I'm going to grab onto this gear with my channel locks and hold it in place so I can get that loosened there. And it's a big long bolt. Comes out of there. And then we take that whole gear off. Okay, this side is ready to pull that starter out. So I don't have to do anything more on this side. On this side of the bike, I'm draining the oil out because it looks like I'm going to have to take the oil pan off. Again, another can of worms. I took the heat shield off of this just so I wouldn't gouge it up or scratch it and pulling that starter out. But this oil tank is right on top of the starter, unfortunately. So that means I got to disconnect the hoses and pull it. Joy, joy, joy. I might have to take the exhaust pipe off too. You never know. Everything I dreamed of, you know. That's why I was dreading getting into this job. Because it just ends up being a can of worms. You just, you know, you got to do one thing before you do something else. Then you realize you got to do something else before you do that. And it's like, oh, you got a million bolts. I got tools here. I got tools here. I got tools over here, and I got tools over there. Oh, Lord help me. I'm moving right along. I had to take saddlebags off so I could see because they were just blocking the view. And then I struggled and struggled to get this this cover that blocks the, you know, from the gravel and dirt getting up into the starter area. And then I realized you don't have to take that off. But I did. And it did offer me a little room to wiggle room. But I got one more hose to get off, and it is down here. And it's got a press clamp on it. Now these other hoses all had hose clamps on it. So I don't know why that one's got to have a press clamp on it. Well, I got the oil tank off. That was no easy task, but it's done. Now that exposes the starter. So I got to take this off. I got to take this off. And then I got to take these two bolts off. And then that starter will pull out. And then I can get to work on it. Oh my gosh, my back hurts. I've been working on this for hours. I know this video isn't very long, but I have been out here for hours. You know, and I have to give anybody that is a Harley Davidson or a motorcycle mechanic, I got to give you credit because It takes a lot of patience. There's places where they put bolts where they shouldn't have. And, you know, I stop and think, I think, I'll bet you there's like a coffee can of bolts in every Harley shop where the mechanic said, I ain't putting that one back. I mean, on this mud guard off the back tire that went right in here, there was one bolt that there was no good way to get to it. And I mean, it took me like a half hour just to get that one bolt off, just turning it like a quarter of an inch at a time with a box wrench. So what a pain in the neck. Well, I think I'm going to take a break and rest my back for a little bit before I yank that starter out of there, because that'll be a whole nother chapter. But for now, we ain't riding this thing for a while. I got it all in pieces. Got the exhaust pipe off. I had to take the exhaust pipe off to get the oil can off of there. So, wow. And the starter is out. Yay. Now, I have to split that and change out the starter clutch. I'll have to do that over on the workbench. Make myself some room over here because I got it loaded up with parts. To lay some newspaper down or something there. And then I gotta carefully pull that apart, and there's a specific way that it has to be done. So that's next. I'm gonna start by taking this chrome end cap off, and then I gotta take these two bolts out. A little corrosion on that one. I had to clean these things up before I'm done. Now, the part that I want is this bottom part here. So I have to take this top part off. And it's attached with two screws down in here. How does that even happen? A pair of needle nose and pull those out because they were down in a recess. Now I want to turn this over this way when I take this apart. There we go. So that comes out like that. And there's a spring here. Don't want to lose that. Set that off to the side. Now, this is the clutch right here. And this is the little gear here. So the gears look okay, but this clutch is no good. So I'm going to pull that shaft out. And then I can tap that out from the back. This, when I take this out, all these little bearings are going to come out with it. So I just have to be careful that I don't lose them because they'll go flying everywhere. That's out. And that's out. And then I'll lube everything. I'll clean it up and lube everything. I'm gonna have to tap that to get that. That's the clutch right there. That's the part I need to replace. There we go. Well, it started. There we go. Okay, there's the starter clutch. That's bad. It's got a sealed bearing on this side. This side, not so much. Here's the new starter clutch. Tight, nice. Here's the old one. Actually goes this way. So you'll see this gear is wider than this. The new ones are like that. That's the old original one. No good anymore, so we're going to put this one in, but we're going to clean all this up first. And I'm going to reassemble these little bearings back in there. I put some grease, some lithium grease on there, and those each have their own little pocket that they slide into, just like a chamber in a revolver. Alright, and then I work that grease all in there, and that goes back on there. I'm going to put a little grease on that too before I throw that in there. Get some grease on that. And that's going to go back. And that slides right in there like that. Cool. Alright, got the brand new starter clutch in there. Make sure those are tight this time. Last time I took it apart, that one screw was all the way loose. So there. Goes back on like that. We're ready to put it back into the bike and pray that everything works. You want to tighten these up, but you don't want to get them too tight. Now, you don't want to strip anything. Now there are little details you need to know on this piece here. Slides over the shaft before we put mount the starter on. But you'll see how it's tapered on this end. This taper has to go in first. I don't know why, but that's important. That taper has to go in first. Now we're ready to put this back in there. All right, the starter's in, all tightened up. I reconnected the positive cable, and I also plugged this back in. So we're all set to put the oil tank back on, and that's not going to be a fun game, but it's got to go in there. That has got to go in there. And I'm not looking forward to that. I think I'll do that tomorrow. Well, it's getting late, and I'm tired. I got hours and hours left to put that back together. I can do that tomorrow. And I can't even do the primary till I get the gaskets, which I have ordered, and they should be coming in a few days. So that side's going to stay off, but I can put everything back together on the other side, get the exhaust pipe back on and everything. Yeah. All right. Let's turn off the lights in here. And head in the house. Sun's going down, and the temperature's starting to go down a little bit. It was nice and warm in there today. I was enjoying myself. If you liked the video, hit me with a thumbs up, and thanks for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't yet, and continue to join me. And who knows, next time you see me, I'll probably have the bike back together again. Till next time, cats, I'll catch you all later. Gotta clean up my hands before I do anything else.